the Crusades. We talked about Charlemagne and the Holy Roman Empire in our last video. You guys should have done this worksheet like last week, so we're just going to play a little catch up. All right, so what we're going to talk about is the city of Jerusalem and how Christians, Jews, and Muslims view it. Okay, so Christians, they view it as where Jesus was crucified and resurrected. Okay, Jews, Zion, God's own site, city of Solomon's temple. All right, and you guys probably learned about that in religion, I would assume, maybe not. And then Muslims viewed it as the third holiest city where Muhammad ascended to heaven. Okay, and if we're looking at a map, okay, get this pointer. Where's the pointer? Here's Jerusalem. Okay, it's next to the Dead Sea. Here's the Mediterranean. And we're thinking, say, Greece. Greece is, this is a bad map, but Greece is like right here. Okay, and then if you go over here, you'd have Italy, and then what we're talking about, which is the Holy Roman Empire, and kind of medieval Europe. Particularly, we're talking about like mainland Europe, which is over here. Okay, so the Crusades are going to be holy wars to Jerusalem. All right, so Pope Urban was Pope Urban II. He's going to call that Christians go and take back the Holy Land. Okay, expel that wicked race from our Christian lands. Christ commands it. He's talking about Muslims. Okay, so that's actually Knights Templar. If you're wondering, talk about that. Okay, so the Crusades comes from the Latin word for crux, which is cross. Okay, right here, cross. Crusaders take up the cross to recover Holy Land from Muslims. All right, so they specifically in the First Crusade, they think that they're doing God's work. But what you're going to have is you're going to have a lot of people who are going for selfish reasons, which is to gain wealth or fame by going to the Holy Land. Okay, so it's a series of 9 military expeditions, and really, the farther you go along, so you go we're going to cover 1, 2, 3, 4, but as you go like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, it's again they're not really well organized. They're not really for they're not really God's work. One of them, they just send a bunch of children. Others, they're going strictly just to plunder. So we don't cover all of them, but know that the First Crusade, again, they think they're doing God's work, and they keep having to go back because it's kind of like it's just like constant war with the Muslims. Okay, why go on a crusade? Okay, little guy clapping. Okay, knights use fighting skills, adventure, wealth. Okay, is there a third one? There we go. That's yeah. Okay, so knights use fighting skills and they want adventure. Peasants, freedom from feudal bonds. When I say feudal bonds, I mean, again, the feudal system. The peasants were the serfs who were kind of locked to the land of a lord or a vassal. So this was kind of a way for them to get out of that. And then again, kind of like the goal for both these groups would be possible wealth. Okay, so riches, spices, things like that. They can come and trade, or instant salvation if killed. Okay, so we talked a little about religion in medieval Europe and how close to God these people wanted to be. Again, lifespan was very short. I think it was like around 30 years old. So death was kind of always on their mind. So they wanted to make sure that they would go to heaven. Okay, and they felt like if they went on this crusade and they happened to die on this crusade, they would at least get to go to heaven. Okay, why the Pope want a crusade? That's Pope Urban. Okay. Okay, so he wanted to increase power in Europe. Okay, he wanted to heal the split between the Roman Catholic and Byzantine Greek Orthodox Church. We didn't really talk about that too much, but what happened was after the fall of the Roman Empire, actually even before the fall of the Roman Empire, the Roman Empire started to split. So it'd be Western Roman Empire and Eastern Empire. Okay, the Eastern Empire became the Byzantine Empire. Okay, and it was kind of centralized in Turkey. Okay, Constantinople, and you're gonna have this like Greek Orthodox religion that's gonna come from it. Which I'm sure I know some Greek Orthodox people because I went to school with them, but I guess you guys wouldn't. They just it's like it's an offshoot. It's like Christianity, which is different. And he wants to kind of like mend that split. So there was a schism. Schism is a word for split. He wants to try to like bring the two sides together. And he also saw the land in the Middle East as a good place for Europe's growing population. Okay, so he felt that with more land, Europeans could spread out. So again, is he doing this for God? No, not really. Okay, this isn't really God calling on him and telling him to go take back this land. He's doing it for personal reasons. Okay, so you need to know that. Okay, so First Crusade. All right, so 1096, 1099. Okay, so Crusaders meet in Constantinople, and I don't have a map on the screen here, but Constantinople is in Turkey, so it's like kind of like a midway point between Europe and Jerusalem. Um, you can get there by ship, or you can get there from marching. So that they did both. You had people who came from different parts of Europe through the Mediterranean to Constantinople. You had others who just marched there. And again, the march is very dangerous. It's very far. And again, this isn't just like a quick thing. This is 3 years. Okay. Uh, and on their way, they killed a lot of Jews and Muslims on their way to capturing Jerusalem. Again, primarily they were trying to kick the Muslims out of Jerusalem. All right, so just remember that because it has to do with Muslims are going to get brought up again with the Inquisition in a little while. Some Crusaders stay and create Palestine. Okay, and you probably heard about that as well. Okay, so we're just going to keep going. Second Crusade. Okay, again, this is what a Knights Templar would look like. All right, so 1147 to 1149. So the Muslims take part of Crusader states in Palestine. Okay. Again, I wish I had a map, but just imagine it's right by Jerusalem near the Mediterranean Sea. And the Crusaders fail to recover the lands. Okay, so they go to try to again kick these Muslims out of the land that they already took from the Muslims, but they're not able to. Okay, so right on to the Third Crusade. All right, 1189 to 1192. Notice how they're usually like around 3 years. Okay, this one's 2 years. The first one was 3 years. This is 3 years. Okay, this is led by Richard the Lionheart of England. Okay, his brother was King John. If you ever seen Robin Hood, kind of like the cartoon with the lion, it's supposed to be Richard the Lionheart and King John. You guys may have not watched it; it's old. Okay, uh, so Saladin united the Muslims and took Jerusalem in 1187. Okay, and then Richard the Lionheart went. Now this, I'm trying to think. You would call it a success. The first one was a success. The second one was a failure. This one leads into a truce where the Muslims keep the city, but pilgrims can come in. So Europeans who want to come, they can come. So it's kind of like open borders in a way. But Original Lionheart becomes very famous because of this. Okay, so that's why he's well known. But I don't necessarily know if you really call it a success. That's right, whatever. Okay, Fourth Crusade. All right, 1204. Crusaders decide not to go to Jerusalem. Okay, they attack Christian city of Constantinople instead. All right, now Constantinople, which I just had mentioned, that was the meeting place in the First Crusade. That was kind of like the capital of like the Byzantine Empire, where you have like the Greek Orthodox Church. So instead of going to Jerusalem and plundering that, these European crusaders go and plunder Constantinople. So now it's just to the point where, and again, this is a Christian city. Now it's just to the point where this really has nothing to do with God's work. Okay, so even though Crusades are considered holy wars, because that was kind of like the initial purpose of it, it really veers away from that as you go along. And I'll just see which number was the Children's Crusade. It was after this one. I want to say it was like the fifth or sixth. And with that, you just had like thousands and thousands of kids trying to start their own crusade. It was an absolute disaster. Trying to see if they number it on here. All right, I can't find the number. It's okay. All right, so effects of the Crusade. All right, so feudalism. Okay, so feudalism is the system that we talked about at the beginning of the chapter. We have like king, then lord, vassal, and serfs, and knights. It just goes all the way down. That's going to kind of break down, and now you're just going to have kings. Okay, so kings gain authority over pope and nobles. Prior to this, the king kind of just was like, all right, let the lords and the vassals kind of run their own lands. Now it's just the king kind of is going to run everything. Okay, and Jews, Muslims, and Christians are just going to all be bitter towards each other. Okay, because again, Christians went and attacked Muslims and Jews. Okay, then Christians went and attacked Christians when they attacked Constantinople. So it was really just ends up being this kind of selfish, personal want for money and fame and fortune. Okay. Okay, so the Byzantine Empire weakens. Again, we didn't talk too much about the Byzantine Empire, but the Byzantine Empire was the eastern part of the Roman Empire, and after it broke apart, it kind of became its own, with Constantinople kind of being the capital. Okay, Istanbul is Constantinople. You can look that song up. Interactions led to establishment of trade networks. So this is kind of like the positive you're going to get from this. Okay, and what some historians think is a result of this is because now you're connecting the Middle East with Europe, and by proxy, you're connecting Asia to Europe in a much easier way. And the disease that gets brought over from Asia to Europe is actually the bubonic plague, which is what we're going to talk about. It's going to come over on ships. It's going to be on rats, and it's going to come into Italy on a trade ship that comes from the Middle East with spices. So even though this is a positive, and it is a positive because it kind of starts to connect the world in a more direct way, it does lead to it's most likely leads to the bubonic plague. Okay. All right. So the Reconquista, King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella of Spain wanted to create a Christian Spain. If you remember when we were talking about was it Charles Martel? I forget which one. They were kicking back the Muslims out of like France, well, Gaul, Holy Roman Empire, whatever you want to call it, modern day France, and they were kind of located in Spain. They had come from northern Africa, across the Mediterranean into Spain. The Muslims kind of settled there, and what King Ferdinand and Queen Isabel want to do is they want to just drive them all out, and they are going to do that. So they're going to drive them out of Spain back into northern Africa. Okay, and what leads to is the Inquisition. Okay, so it's the Spanish Inquisition, and I probably should give you guys a worksheet about this. Inquisition court set up to try people accused of heresy. Isabella targeted the Jews and Muslims in Spain. Again, they're trying to expel the Muslims, but they're also kind of trying to get rid of the Jews as well. And then anyone who refused to convert to Christianity was tortured or burned at the stake. Okay. So again, heresy is kind of like the speaking out against the religion. Okay. Or like having a different belief than Christianity. Okay, so Muslims and Jews would be the ones being accused of heresy. Okay, we can go into the Spanish Inquisition. There's a lot into it, but again, we kind of keep this broad. If you want to look into this, you can. Okay, you probably look into it more in high school. I took a course in it in college. It is pretty interesting. I do suggest if you go to college, taking a middle ages class. It's pretty fun. It's pretty easy. Okay. Effects of the Inquisition. This will be the last one we'll do today. All right. Picture? Nope. All right. More than 150,000 people fled Spain in fear. Religious union was achieved in Spain, but at a huge price. Okay. So again, it became a Christian country. And Spain's economy suffered from loss of many skilled and educated people. Those skilled and educated people being the Jews and Muslims, whose their only fault in this point was their religion. Okay, they weren't trying to take over the country. So we're gonna have a quiz next week, quiz test next week. And yeah,